Hi everyone. I want to talk to you about some of my concerns, challenges, and my struggles with when I get bullied by women, including girls. First of all, there's been a huge division and polarization in society where it's men versus women, or women versus people with disabilities, or there's a lot of challenges with gender politics. I am not going to try to get into a lot of gender politics because I don't want to cause a lot of division. I don't want to heavily criticize women, including girls, because I don't want people to think that I am anti woman. I'm here to express the challenges of myself being bullied by women, including girls, to also explain the things that I've tried to work on, the things I try to understand, and other coping strategies. My name is Matt Winnick. I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I have autism, including a learning disability, along with a cognitive disability. Having this has affected me my whole entire life, ever since I was young, including currently. This has caused me to have difficulty on comprehending and learning different advanced subjects in an advanced pace. I had struggles on doing tasks or multitasking in a fast paced environment, whether I do other activities, whether I work, or whether I volunteer. I also have challenges on trying to figure out how to communicate my thoughts efficiently, whether it's in conversations, phone, text, email, or other social media platforms. Um, and also, I have challenges where it's hard for me to understand conversations, how to respond it, and trying to easily comprehend on it. Another challenge that I have with my autism spectrum is I deal with getting bullied a lot by people, some of my friends, people who I know, people in general, for struggling with a disability, or when I have challenges with processing information, or if I have difficulty on performing tasks at advanced pace or in a fast paced environment, and many others. Um, what has been a really big concern for me is I have been continuously getting bullied by women, including girls, ever since I was young through currently, where I get made fun of for struggling with a disability, how I look different from other men, what they would make judgmental stuff like calling me a retard, looking ugly. I have dealt where I got spit in the face by them because they wanted to provoke me to get mad, even though I never get mad. They make a lot of vulgar or sometimes make inappropriate references, making jokes how they think it'd be funny if I took my life, and that. I have experienced a lot where there'd be women, including girls, where they would come up to me and they'd simply just say, "Hey, we want to hang out with you. Do you have a phone? Do you have a text? Do you have social media as a way to contact them?" And in my mind, I thought, like, wow, a girl wanted to hang out with me and wanted to get to know me. And I would just simply just say, "Okay, here's my phone number, here's my email, and here's my social media." And whenever I hanged out with them, there were times that it didn't work out as well, or sometimes it did work. Like, for example, there'd be some women, including some girls, where they would make fun of me for starting with a disability when I had challenges of trying to understand what they were saying. And sometimes they would do things where I meet up with them, and all of a sudden they had their friends, and they let their friends bully me um, for simply having a disability, or they even make things worse. I've also had challenges where whenever a girl says, "Oh, I really like hanging out with you. Could we keep in touch?" And sometimes in my mind, I think, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, they would say, "Oh, we want to keep in touch, be friends, and connect," and and like I said, I try my best to respect boundaries, not to over text, not to over contact them too much. I try to be very, very very careful as much as I can, where I'd be like, short message saying, "Hi, how are you?" or "Do you have time to catch up or talk?" or like, "When's a good time?" And sometimes I'll get ghosted. Sometimes I've dealt where some women, including some girls, would like to spread bad rumors about me on social media. Where I had an instance where I used to be friends with this girl for a long time, and we used to hang out and we used to be friends on Facebook and Instagram. But one day, she manipulate a picture of me doing in a very, very disgusting picture, and she had spread it to a lot of people, including some of my friends and her friends and other people in general, about me, in some bad rumor picture. And I was really heartbroken because a lot of people were making fun of me. They're calling me weirdo. They're calling me creep, and they were just believing in some bad rumor. And I've dealt a lot of times on social media platforms where I get easily bullied by some women, including girls. They encourage men and other people to tease me, and I've had experience where my pictures would be manipulated for something that isn't true. Um, what has also been a very, very big concern for me is there's been a lot of TikTok videos, YouTube videos, and even on like social media platforms where some women, including some girls, would like to use a lot of make rhetoric where they say men with disabilities are creep, weirdos, stupid, ugly, disgusting people. And whenever I scroll through and see these things on these platforms, it makes me very scared because sometimes I read the comments about them where it's not just only women, but men also comment where they say, like, "Oh, we agree with you. We don't like people with disabilities," and they kind of like to encourage other people to bully people with disabilities. I I have also known some people with disabilities, including men with disabilities from my autism group, where they kind of express the concerns about a lot of hateful rhetoric against people with disabilities, including men with autism spectrum, where they say they get bullied by women, including girls, for struggling with a disability or if they have challenges in society. And it makes me very, very, very concerned. Also to mention is whenever women and girls do this type of thing, it encourages other people, especially people who I know, of my friends, and some of the girls I kind of know. I mean, not like dating, but just more like them, like casually, or maybe you used to be friends with them, where they like to do the same thing, where they like to make um, hateful words against people with disabilities, where they use it against me. Um, what has been really hard a lot is I spend time trying to visualize myself as what are my good intentions for women, including girls. How should I present it? Maybe it's not easy because there are times that it's hard for me to communicate my good intentions because they don't want to listen, or they even make fun of me even further. I'll do the best as I can to talk about my good intentions for women, including girls. Um, First of all, I try my best to be a good listener to them when they're having difficult times or when they are simply just trying to understand society, where I don't judge them harshly. I just listen to them, try to offer them kindness, compassion, and understanding of them. I'm a person that likes to think of good thoughts, including positive vibes to them when they struggle in life, when they make achievements, or they're simply just trying to be creative, or even navigating in society. And I believe in women's rights, and I believe that they should deserve equal rights, not face any forms of discrimination or harassment. And I believe that they deserve to have access to make their own health decisions or get better access to healthcare services. Um, what I have been doing a lot of going through a transition of figuring out how do I navigate a society that is broken when women, including girls, like to do bullying me or like to say hateful views against people with disability is I do a lot is reduce my time on social media platforms. I reduce pictures of myself on these platforms as a way to protect myself um, from women, including girls that like to manipulate my picture or use a picture of me as a way for them to make bad rumors about me that aren't true. I try to do social distance from women, including girls, almost 90% of the time as a way to protect myself from being bullied and as a way for me to protect myself from having to worry about being threatened, being spit at, um, dealing with them calling me names. But however, it is very difficult to be in a society where there are a lot of women, including girls, in society, and I have to tell myself that in this society you have to have men and women in society, but I have to do the best I can to navigate better. Whenever I deal where women, including girls, like to spit at me or get close to my face, say a lot of disgusting words, I do the best as I can not to have a lot of eye contact with them, like not to have an angry face, try to stay calm, try to walk away from the situation as best as possible, and try not to say anything because I've experienced where they want to provoke me, and I don't want to be provoked. I don't want to get into a conflict, and I don't want people to assume that men with disabilities or people with disabilities are bad just because they react to something. So I do the best I can to try to stay calm, walk away from the situation, and and that. Um, Also, I do a lot of my time is I spend time um, volunteering where I help feed homeless people, including the disabled or even people low income, especially women who are struggling through poverty, to make sure that they get grocery bags filled with canned goods or other essential items as a way to help them out in the community. Or to help them navigate a society where there's a lot of poverty. Many of them can't get access to good food or nutrition. So I try to do the best as I can. And when it comes to a workplace or volunteering, it's never easy. I deal with getting bullied by women, including girls, almost 95% of the time. And all I can simply just do is just try to keep my head down, try to focus on doing the task. Even if I struggle with doing tasks in a fast paced environment, work on critical thinking skills, try to pay attention to details as much as possible, try to brainstorm a lot about how I can improve myself at doing tasks or critical thinking skills to the best as I can, even if I struggle with my disability or if I struggle on trying to comprehend on advanced tasks or other tasks in a fast paced environment. I also like to spend time learning about history, where I get a chance to learn about many famous people, including famous individual women like Florence Nightingale, Harriet Tubman, Marilyn Monroe, Ada Lovelace, Emily Dickinson, Virginia Woolf, Marie Curie and other influential women as a way to be inspired by how they work hard to overcome their struggles, but wanted to advocate for good ideas or wanted to make society a better place for the poor, the disadvantaged, and the disabled. And I use this as a way to help motivate me to continue to learn history, to try and navigate society, and try to remind myself that I want to be a human being with good principles or want to have good critical thinking skills, even though I struggle with a disability. Another thing too that I like to do is I like to focus on a- actresses that are in different TV shows or movies because I like to look for their character development on trying to work hard to overcome different struggles, trying to help others, trying to make compassion, understanding for the poor, the disadvantaged, and the disabled, and working hard to improve themselves. And also, besides their acting, I like to look at their activism on supporting the rights of the disabled, including the autism community, to help give me comfort when I deal with a lot of being bullied or when I get easily dealing with hate from women and girls for struggling with a disability. I'm also am a person that is a visionary slash a person who likes to think up a lot of good ideas. I might not be a philosopher or a famous person or a good advocate, but I'm a person that believes that people with disabilities should deserve equal treatment. They should have accommodations whether they work or volunteer or in other public settings, and that they shouldn't face any forms of discrimination or hate for having a disability. Also, I believe that women, including girls, should deserve to have equal rights to so they won't be discriminated based on their gender. They shouldn't face any forms of harassment, and that they should have access to healthcare services to make their own decisions for their healthcare needs. But however, I believe that women, including girls, should have the audacity to try to be compassionate, kind, and understanding of people with disabilities, including men with disabilities like me, and how they shouldn't use hateful rhetoric against people with disabilities, especially men with disabilities. And that is my basic thought of some of my fundamental ideas. Unfortunately, a lot of these things aren't very popular these days because there's a lot of bad rhetoric, whether it's through the news media, our current president, many members of our judicial system, many social media influencers, including YouTubers, where they like to make a lot of hateful rhetoric against people with disabilities, especially men with disabilities. And so, where they use this behavior as a way to encourage other people, especially some of my friends, girls, including women that I had known from the past, including currently, or maybe um, an acquaintances where they like to follow this type of bad anti disability rhetoric. And so, um, Um, working on talking about this wasn't easy for me. It took me a long time to think about this ever since I was young. And currently, there's been times where I've spent time trying to think about how should I best communicate my thoughts without being controversial. How do I explain my challenges? I'm dealing with being bullied by women, including girls. How I'm trying to understand myself to be better, how I'm trying to use coping strategies to help me navigate a society that is broken. Also, what I usually do a lot is I always pray and think, and I keep wishing that on a daily basis is that I wish that there could be some women, including some girls, that could be understanding of me, can treat me kindly, and not to use bigotry and hate against me when I struggle with a disability. And I hope that someday that I could eventually have a connection like a friendship or simple good conversation without having to worry about dealing with hate. There are times I feel hopeless a lot because I get bullied like 95% of the time. I had experience where women, including girls, would encourage men and other people to bully me for simply struggling with a disability or if I am different from others. So it's a lot of challenges, and there's days that I have to cry a lot. I have to cry before I go to bed. I have to cry before I take a shower. I have to look at myself in the mirror on a daily basis. I keep asking myself questions like, how do I feel? Do I feel okay with how I look? Am I a bad person just because I struggle with a disability, even if I have good intentions or want to work hard to do good things or do critical thinking skills? And so I want to encourage women, including girls all over the world, including in the United States, to try to be compassionate and understanding of people with disabilities and try to treat men with disabilities kindly and not to use bigotry or hate against them on any platforms, especially on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, or other platforms in general. And also for them to try to be respectful for people with disabilities or people with autism spectrum or people who have mental health issues, especially men who struggle with these things, to try to be respectful and understanding and try because we need to be in a society where we don't need to have men versus women. We don't need to have women versus people with disabilities, especially men with disabilities, because we are in a society where we all need to work together to help each other. We need to start advocating for equal rights, including human rights, along with the rights of the disabled. And we need to encourage society not to have bigotry and hate, because bigotry and hate causes more division and it causes more polarization in our society. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. I did the best as I could to explain my concerns about being bullied by women, including girls. I tried my best to not be hard on them, not try to be critical of them, but simply just talk about my experience, the strategies that I've worked on, and the things that I'm trying to do better, and my vision on wanting to make a world a better place without hate or bigotry. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me.